Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. Aquí tienen el horario para hoy, jueves, el 15 de septiembre. Due for today is your presentación escrita oral, página 13. We'll go over that in just a moment. That's what you started working on last class. No homework at all for the weekend. Enjoy y'all's homecoming weekend. Daily objective for today, listening, comprehension, and recognition of present tense verb conjugations. How to conjugate verbs in the simple present tense, and time permitting, as we have an abbreviated schedule for today, it'll be to talk and write about your school activities. Your warm-up for today is a fill-in-the-blank warm-up of present tense conjugations. We'll go over the presentación escrita directions after the warm-up. We'll do a quick review of how to conjugate verbs in the present tense, along with the o, as, a, amos, an, otra vez song lyrics, and then we'll take your pop quiz that we will do and have been talking about for the past week, and then again, time permitting, the Gramática Repaso, stem changing verbs on page 27. Here are your endings of regular AR, ER, and IR verbs. O, as, a, amos, an. O, es, emos, en. O, es, imos, en. Your warm-up for today, fill in the blank with the correct form of the verb provided in the present tense. You do not need to write out the entire sentence, just fill in the blank. For example, nosotros vivimos. Nosotros vivimos in Brentwood. Tú necesitas más tiempo. Your warm-up there, you can see the verbs provided there. Number 4 is irregular, the verb ser, so you'll need to go to page 5 for that one. And on page 5, you have the conjugations of the verb ser in the present tense. But going over the regular present tense endings, that's what we're going to do next. Actually, before that, let's go over your presentación escrita, the instructions for this assignment. So I'm actually not going to go over them in great detail because you can watch the video that walks you through how to go about this assignment. And then you have an example here that you can take a look at that we looked at together in class. I know you can't see all of that. Zoom out a little bit. There you go. So hopefully see that a bit better. This is the example that we went over together in class that you guys can utilize as you knock this out on your own. You have the visual component with your written responses, and then please make sure to have 4 original photos. And then you have the audio component, just like a video like what I'm doing right now, or an audio recording. All right, so take a look at that video, take a look at the example, take a look at the rubric there to make sure you have everything you need, and again, outline there the 7 parts to this poema en diamante. All right, back to page 9. Present tense of regular verbs. We're going to go over these notes together as a class. And I'll even share with you guys the PowerPoint that we went over together a few months ago, or rather a few weeks ago, talking about the 3 parts to a verb being the infinitive, the stem, and the ending, and that the process of conjugating, which is what you're going to do on your quiz today, is starting with the infinitive, like the verb hablar here, taking off the AR ending, and then when you do that, when you remove the AR ending, you're left with the stem. That's what we call the very beginning of the infinitive. And then add to that stem o, as, a, amos, an for AR verbs, o, es, emos, en for ER verbs, and o, es, imos, en for IR verbs. That process is the process of conjugating, and that's what your quiz will be like, just like your warm-up that we did earlier today. Yo leo L-E-O. Yo leo los periódicos. Ellas cantan. C-A-N-T-A-N. Ellas cantan muy bien. Luisa y Maribel estudian. Ellas estudian juntas. They study together. So these verbs are in the infinitive form, and your quiz is you conjugating them by beginning with the infinitive, removing the last two letters, what we call the ending. You're left with what's called the stem, and add to that stem these regular present tense endings. We'll take the quiz on that, and then we'll go to page 27, which is an introduction to stem-changing verbs. Stem-changing verbs are verbs that have a spelling change in their stem, stem being the very beginning of the infinitive. Stem-changing verbs have a spelling change in their stem in all forms. The yo form, the tu form, the él, ella, usted form, ellos, ellas form, except the nosotros and vosotros forms. So that's why you'll see here, these are in a different hue. And that's why we call these boot verbs, because if you highlight the forms that do have a stem change, it's kind of in the appearance of a shoe or a boot. You may recognize these as boot verbs. Boot verbs are at the bottom of page 27, categorized by their stem change. For example, o in dormir, costar, and almorzar changes to ue when we conjugate it. Yo duermo, tú duermes, él, ella, usted duerme, etc. Jugar is a verb that you're familiar with, the verb to play. When we conjugate it in all forms except for the nosotros form, the u changes to ue. Yo juego videojuegos. Tú juegas un deporte. Ella juega fútbol. But jugamos would be the nosotros form because, again, the stem doesn't change in the nosotros form. Entender is to understand. Pensar is to think or believe. Preferir is a cognate. It means to prefer. And querer is to want or to love. And those verbs, the E in the middle changes to IE. Last set of verbs here that are stem changers, the E changing to I. Servir is to serve, and repetir is to repeat. I think all we'll have time for today, because of the abbreviated schedule, is watching this video, which you can access if you've missed class. You guys can go to Clever, type in the search box Savas, and do that again a little bit slowly, just in case. SAVVAS. Click on that first option that says Savas Easy Bridge. Takes you maybe to a page similar to this, perhaps this page, where you have a variety of options in terms of which level of Spanish you would like to do. Click on level 2. And then you guys are going to choose the e-textbook. And then the page that you're looking for. There's table of contents there. Actually, page 27. There we are. And then the video we're going to watch is right here. At the very end, they'll go over some examples of stem-changing verbs, and I'll have you guys do those examples in your notebooks. So that's everything that we're going to cover today. Next class, we'll kind of begin some practice with these, not only knowing the verbs that are stem changers themselves, but also how they conjugate according to the different forms. So that's where we'll leave off today. Again, your only homework is to make sure that you submit your presentación escrita oral by midnight tonight. But there's no other homework at all for the weekend. Enjoy your weekend, y'all. Happy homecoming y nos vemos en clase. Que tengan un buen fin de semana. Adiós.